Welcome to Single Fathers Today. This is your host, Mark Hill. This podcast is geared towards single fathers who have just recently received custody of their kids, have gone through a divorce, and trying to make their way going forward within the relationship of being a good father for themselves and for their kids, and trying to help them to be the best person they can be. If you have any questions or comments of the show, you can send an email to singlefatherstoday@gmail.com. And we are actually setting up a new YouTube page, which will be Single Fathers Today on the YouTube. And we have a Twitter account at Single Fathers Today. So, quick housekeeping. It's been a while since you guys have heard from me. A couple things have happened, a lot of interesting things. We used to be with Podcast Detroit. They've gone through a couple changes, and they're with another entity, or they've been absorbed by a different company. So I'm in the process of trying to get all the shows that I have with Podcast Detroit, go ahead and pull those down and then upload them to the YouTube page. It's, a lot of things have gone on, COVID, all this other stuff that's going on. So, but we are back. We are trying to do a remix or a reboot. So for today's show, I have two special guests here with me. I have my youngest daughter, Michelle, and round of applause. And I have her boyfriend, Mo, here. I won't give you his last name. I want you guys hawking him down. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All righty. So, we're going to go ahead and discuss this. Like I said, it's been a while since I've been doing the shows. You guys probably know. If you take a look at the previous shows, it's been, I'd say, probably about a year or so, more or less. That's a extended hiatus, if you want to call it. But today's show, which they brought to me, is discussing your daughter, in my case, daughters in their relationships, starting relationships, and coming out of or going through a divorce process. So, as well, first off, welcome. And I guess let's start with Michelle. How have you been doing? What have you been up to in this long break that we have taken? What's been going on with you with school and everything else? Before we'll start with the easy stuff before we go into the hard stuff.
I'm good. I'm in grad school right now, so just focusing on that.
And let's see, what was since you're in grad school, that means you've already got your bachelor's. What's your bachelor's in, and what are you working on for your grad school, and what are your plans on after that?
I'm in grad school for health service administration, and following that, just trying to get some health service experience, probably working in a hospital and going from there.
Okay. And this gentleman that you are sitting with beside you, I'm assuming that you met him at, let's say, College U, or if you're in the Michigan area, we'll just say CMU, Fire Up Chips. So, so Mo, give us a little, since everybody already knows about Michelle from previous shows, Mo, give us a little background about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing, how'd you get to CMU, where you at right now, and what's going on with you, because we gotta, the fathers out there are gonna be like, all right, we got the shotgun, let's see what's going on here, and let's go ahead and vet him. I mean, you guys can't help me vet him, from afar, but you guys can hear the story. So give us your story, give us the rundown, Mo. Give us a little history of yourself.
Quick rundown. I was born in Monrovia, Liberia, West Africa. I came to New Jersey when I was 3. I fell in love with football, sports in general, and also physical therapy. So I kind of pursued that. Out of high school, it was kind of rough. I was an athlete, but sometimes you don't take your grades too serious, so I had to go the harder route. So I went to junior college. At the time, my brother, he joined the military, so he got stationed in San Diego, and I felt like it was a blessing for me because I did my research, and San Diego has some pretty good, high-talent junior colleges. So I attended Southwestern for a semester and a half. I got 2 associate's degrees. One is in health science, and the other one is in communications. I got blessed to go earn a full scholarship / partial scholarship because I just had to pay for like my own way of living.
Mm-hmm.
for Central because my buddy of mine, his dad became the defensive coordinator, so that was just a blessing in the door for me.
Okay.
So I got there in 2019, but had a few hiccups. I had to sit out because of my transfer rules, so I sat out that whole season, waited for my associates to come in, but it never came in on time. So spring was a new, fresh start. Started balling out, doing what I need to do, but then life happens. I tore my ACL. So I kind of took a turn into business with my brother because he's been an entrepreneur out there in California. He started running his own security company. And then we started our own car company called Prime Automotive. So I kind of like took a toll into that and just try to learn that aspect. But also, I took a year off of school, but I'm going back this January to finish off my bachelor's. I only have like a year left to finish off in health science. So I'm going to do that and then leans toward physical therapy, but mainly with athletes and trying to help athletes out. But for me right now, I'm just helping out my brother. I just started a catering service also out in San Diego. So if you guys like sushi and you're in San Diego, make sure you stop by.
There you go. Oh, look, guys, he's getting a little plug in on there. We'll let that slide. We'll let that slide.
Give you a discount. But for me, really, my main focus and main goal is just to help out athletes, and whether it's just mentally or however I can, just to let them know, give them a push, because most people don't know what it's like to actually be an athlete. So I just want to give the world like a different perspective on athletes and let them know that we're people too. We're just not like performance we just don't perform on the weekends. We also have feelings and also have personal problems that we go through. So I want to start like a little get together with that and just talk about it, talk about mental health, and just, show the world a different side of these guys that you don't see on the daily.
So it's more than because normally, it's a Sunday night here, so you got the games going on during football season. So, most of the people sit there and see you when you're on the stage and performing. But, when the lights are out and the fans are all gone, you still have to live your life. And for some athletes, it can be a little bit of a struggle, when the lights are out, because, again, like you said, some of the athletes, they live for that limelight, but when that light's gone, what do you do? Yeah. So, and definitely you took a interesting turn, the different routes as far as coming from overseas, coming over here, going from place to place. I mean, basically it doesn't matter how you get to that end place. It's just, everyone takes a different path to get to where you're going, but as long as you're moving in a positive direction, that's the best place to be. I mean, we all have our stumbles and our falls. Hell, I'm sure that my daughters have seen plenty of examples of me where I've done things that are good and done things that are bad. So just kind of stumbled here and there. So let's start with Michelle, since this is single fathers, and Michelle. I guess I'll probably end up putting myself out there a little bit. So when you were, along with your sisters, saying, okay, you're at that age where you're in school, you see guys that are liking you, that like you, or interested in you, or you're interested in them. What were some of the things that kind of piqued your interest, or say, hey, I'm interested in this person? Some people will say that the kids tend to look at someone that has some of the talent or some of the qualities of their parent. If it's daughters, some of the qualities in their dad. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. So when you were at that age where you're saying, okay, I'm going to start dating now, or looking for people, finding someone that you're interested in, what were some of the qualities that you were looking for? Yeah, put you on blast. Hey, y'all want this show, so hey, you got it. Is he more than he has to be breathing, right?
I mean, well, yeah, but like, I don't know, like, how I was growing up. I really didn't care about none of that stuff. I was more concerned with celebrity boys, because that was the dream, obviously, because the ones around me weren't doing it for me. Or like even my dad always said, I used to be brutal to boys because I just didn't care for real. Because I always knew, like, I guess I always knew what I wanted, but I never saw it in nobody. But I guess that thing that I wanted was my ideal version of what I guess love was, which I guess like you just said, you're gonna look for that what your father has in like another person. So even like, you know, I used to curl up to you, whatever. That's something I want. Someone to give me like something physical, even if you just like, even if we're just sitting there looking at each other, like that's something I look for, and he can attest to that. I would sit next to him on the couch, watch football with him. I don't even know what's going on, and that's it. So definitely something like that, but also in a sense, someone that's gonna take care of me, but not like in those exact words, like emotionally, like care for me or build something with me. I think that's caring for someone as well, someone that's gonna help me grow. So,
and you want to add that, Mo, or I mean, well, what she was saying is when she was younger, and it was a little bit after the divorce. I remember watching a movie, Daddy's Little Girls, Tyler Perry movie with Idris Elba. Sorry, Idris. If I hacked your name up. Great actor. So what Michelle would do, being that she's the youngest, she would just come in. I could be watching a movie, and she would just come in, sit right next to me, and I'd put my arm around her. She'd snuggle up next to me, watch TV with me for maybe 15, 20 minutes. Wouldn't say a word, and then she'd just get up and go. That was it. You know, she just wanted to get that, and I kind of figured she just wanted to have that closeness with her dad, that moment of saying, hey, Dad's here for you, or she could snuggle up with me, and then she would just go ahead and go do her thing. I think I mentioned in one of my previous shows is that each one of my daughters had their own setup, I guess. My oldest daughter was closer to her mother. First 8 months of her life, she was with her mother. Her mother was stationed in D.C. in the military. I was stationed in Kentucky, so she had that early bond with her mother. Once her mother got out of the service and I got out of the service and we moved to Michigan, we had our middle daughter. And the middle daughter, her thing was she would go to the parent who hadn't pissed her off lately. So if I made her mad, she would go hang with her mother. If her mother made her mad, she would hang with me. Michelle, being the youngest, she was always daddy's girl. So it didn't matter where I was in the house, in the yard, or outside in the yard. If she fell down, scraped her knee, or hurt herself, and her mother was right there, she wouldn't go to her mother. She would try to find, she'd push her mother away and come looking for me. So that was the breakdown of each one of them. And that's why she was mentioning that, you know, she would just come in and just kind of sit with me. And this is what I mentioned in one of the previous shows, is that the dads, if you have something positive, if you give off positive energy, your kids are going to gravitate towards that, especially if it's daughters and they're looking for that partner. They're wanting to find that positive side. If you're negative, they'll find that, and that's all they know. They're going to look for that negative. It's whatever you program into them for that positive side or that negative side. So what was it about Mo that intrigued you about him as far as a partner or as someone that you could find confidence or security in?
Well, the first thing was the message he sent me, because it was just off. He was like, what did you even say to me?
Well, I met her I actually didn't meet her. I'd seen her at the liquor store.
Oh, damn. I didn't know that.
But this is what happened. So I seen her at the liquor store, but we were leaving.
Back up.
What had happened was...
Back up. Because we followed each other on Instagram.
Yeah, we followed each other
on Instagram.
And
at that time, I'm just like, oh, you go to CMU, cool. I'll let you follow me. And that's what it was. Continue.
So it was during the spring. We had an off day, so we was going to a party. And I was with my teammate and his girlfriend, so we stopped at the liquor store. And as we were pulling out, I seen her, but I was like, I've seen her before somewhere, but it just didn't click to where I seen her. So I was like, man, I ain't never gonna see her again. So, Good God. God is great. She ended up posting something on Instagram, and then I seen it, and I was like, oh, I remember her. So I slid in her DMs. Fellas, the DMs is a way to go. So I slid in her DMs. I was like, hey, I seen you at the liquor store. But she didn't respond to me. It took like a few days, and then she responded, and then.
No, you didn't tell me where it was. You
No,
just
I
said,
said,
I think I
seen
just saw
you.
you. And I said, I didn't know. I never met you, so I didn't know. And I'm like, well, where?
And then that's when we got to talking. And then
Yeah, pretty much.
we're here today.
Okay.
But let me go back to the question.
Okay.
So I guess that was intriguing at first because I'm just like, who the hell are you and what the hell do you want?
Again, she used to be brutal with kids. There was a kid that wanted to ask her to the prom, the high school
homecoming.
prom. Homecoming. My mistake. And the guy was just the way I heard the story was.
Then let me tell it.
Okay, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
because I was.
Go ahead. You were there. I wasn't.
It was basically. No, it was my lunch. It was lunch in high school, and I was a loner. I just sat by myself. I watched my TV show, and I went back to class after, and I ate my food, and that was it. But this kid, I might have seen him around, but I never talked to him for real. And he asked me to go with him, and I think I said I was already going with someone or something like that. He just walked away. I'm like, you're not going to tell me your name? Like, he just seemed real nervous, but I wasn't mean to him or nothing. But, I mean, I do have a resting bitch face. So I don't know if that was in the mix. But, yeah. That's what happened.
So, yeah. Very, very protective, I guess. She had her mindset.
But yeah, back to the question.
Yes.
So I guess that first thing, like, who are you and what do you want? So obviously curiosity was there. But then, I picked him up for our first date because obviously he came from a different state. He didn't have no car. And I took Monica's car because Monica let me take her car. So we went to the movies, and it was honestly just the vibe. I just felt comfortable off the bat, and that's
Tell him how you almost left me.
Cause you was taking all day. You wanted to finish a video game with your friend. I'm finna leave you. Don't tell me a time to get you, and you not there. Don't play me. You lucky I didn't leave.
Okay.
That's what I thought. But yeah, just like that's my main thing. If I don't feel comfortable with you, I'm not gonna fuck with you. I'm not gonna talk to you. So
okay.
I guess that was the first thing. And then I don't know, like honestly, it just felt like I like met you before or something, but like obviously I haven't. So, but we already talked about that too. Did I answer the question? You want to answer the question?
It was your question.
I mean, it can go to you too.
Well, for me, like she said, it felt comfortable, like you talked about how you feel comfortable when you recognize that feeling from somebody. So it could be from your mom or your dad, but if you could see the traits in somebody, that could also pop a trigger in your head. So I felt comfortable with her, and she was an easygoing person. She tried to play tough, but she's really not. She was easygoing, and nowadays you really don't see that with girls. Like they just like to be them, or they're interested in different things that it's not considered like going out, partying, and stuff like that. So for me, that was always like how I am. So I kind of felt drawn to that. So that's really what it was for me.
I would like to add something. You just also didn't take stuff too seriously, and I feel like, like you were saying, the opposite. So you take stuff too seriously. He don't take stuff seriously enough. So it's also like a mix of I want somebody that kind of got my dad traits, but not like you said earlier, those other traits. Yeah, because I'm already too serious. Like I'm already too like you. So I need something to counteract that.
Well, and I can understand the part of being too serious because prior to the divorce, I was more laid back, not so serious. But then when you're in a marriage and the relationship is starting to go sideways, your tone kind of changes. And then when you go through the divorce process, and then here you are doing things by yourself, and you don't have that partner, that person that you married is going to be your partner, and you're looking at 3 kids and you're figuring out, okay, how am I going to do this? It's they don't give you a manual on raising your kids. They don't give you a manual on your kids at all. So you just got to figure it out. So veterans call it trial by fire. When you're out in the bush in combat and you're learning things as you go along, and you have to kind of change your way of thinking. So for me, I had to change my whole way of thinking in my mind, thinking I was doing the right thing. And there's good traits and bad traits about it, but the main thing was trying to focus on how am I going to raise these 3 kids and try to navigate my way through it. So yeah, I definitely changed a lot during that time period. And yeah, you take things a lot more serious because like everything is, you don't want to make a mistake along the way. So you do run into those steps. You still have your wants and your needs and things that you want to do, relationships that you want to be in, but you got to put the kids first and try to focus on them. And that was one of the things that I tried to do. And obviously seeing how all 3 of you guys are successful, I think that part of it paid off.
Yeah, it does. Because coming from New Jersey, you can see a lot of girls who come from a single father household. They're like way different. Some of them are pregnant. So honestly, I gotta say, you did a damn good job because all your daughters went to college, did what they need to do, and they're on the right path. So
yes, thank you.
Did a
Thank
good
you.
job.
It was, there was, and for me, my thing was, my view was always, it was something my mother had always taught me and tried to instill in me, is like, your job is to take your kids and get them as far as they can until they're at the point where they can stand on their own. You have to do everything that you can to get them to that point. And one's in the oldest one, Marissa, she's in the Air Force. I guess you would call her the prodigal child. She had a basketball scholarship, and as you know, being an athlete, things kind of, you kind of take a windy road, but she got herself straight, and she has her degree. She's currently serving in the Air Force, defending our country. Our middle daughter Monica, she has her bachelor's, has her master's, and currently in pre-med, and will be going to med school next fall. Michelle is, as you heard in the intro, she has her bachelor's, she's working on her master's, and then whatever's available for her, the next step, she will go ahead and take that next step forward. So it wasn't easy, but they're definitely, I think they're going to make a difference. So, and thank you for that. And I think the next step is to be in a good, healthy relationship. That's the most important thing, especially today.
So I'm gonna throw it back, cause you asked us, so I'm gonna ask you. When we dating somebody, what kind of person are you looking for, or what is your ideal person that we would be with?
First and foremost is someone that is going to treat you with respect. That will listen to you. I think that a relationship, being in a good, healthy relationship, it's service to each other. You have some relationships where you have one person saying that, hey, you have to take care of me. I've seen these shows on TV, these Bridezillas and all this, the 90-day fiance and all this. Well, the man has to take care of me. I want to sit back and be pampered, and he has to do whatever I tell him to do. That's not what a relationship is. I've seen other these other shows where the man says, well, the woman has to do what I say to do, and I don't want her to have any access to the bank account. I will provide for her, and I will give her the money. It's like, for me, there was a time where that was normal, but I think in this day and age, that's not what a relationship should be. I believe that, and kind of understand that this isn't a. Some people will say that the man is the head of the household, and yes, in a spiritual religious home, yes, the man is the head of the household, but you're in service to each other. An ideal relationship is being in service to each other. You complement each other. No one person in certain aspects has a higher power over others. I've talked to people who've been married for 20 years, 30 years, and they've all said the same thing. It's a give and take. You take care of each other. And the ones that fail is when one person tries to take over or be higher than the other. The way the relationship was back 30, 40, 50 years ago was not what the relationship is today. It's constantly evolving. And you have to look at that. And I think the parents shape that for the kids going forward. So for me, it's first and foremost, he has to respect you and honor you, but on the same side, you have to be able to respect and honor him as well.
I support that answer.
But as a father, would you say we should start like normalizing fathers checking in on their daughters and their spouses, like mental health, and seeing how they are? Because we can all come to you and look happy, but normally people have their problems. So as a parent, do you think that's what we should start doing? Well, you guys should start doing more of in your kids' relationship, is checking up on both sides. Even though you might not know her boyfriend like that, but just get to build that relationship with him to see like where he's at mentally, physically, or spiritually, to see if everything's okay.
Yes, my view on that, and my view on that is, yes, I do believe that you need to look at checking with your daughters or checking with your kids, and then also checking to their partner. If you have a son and you're spending time with your son, you want to talk to the guy talk to the girl that's dating your son. Vice versa, you want to talk to the guy that's dating your daughter, to try to get that understanding. And it's kind of I think early on in a relationship, if you see that the relationship is bad, or if it's something that's not healthy, it's kind of a fine line, because if you step in and you say something and she's into this guy and the relationship is toxic, if you tell them, hey, you need to stay out, you need to leave this guy alone, what you can end up doing is driving them closer to that person, which is against what you want to do. So it's kind of tricky, because what you can do is you talk to your child, and then you want to talk to that person that they're dating to try to get an understanding of it. But if you push too hard, you're going to drive them closer to that person. I'm sure there's guys out there that have wanted to say something or has said something, and you've ended up pushing your child away. There's a couple people I know that have done that and pushed their child away, and then they find that later on when their child realizes they're in a toxic relationship and they've had a big blow up with their parent. It's like, okay, how do I go back? And now that child is afraid to come back to their parent because they had a big blow up in an argument, and they're like, well, what do I do? I'm trapped in this relationship and I can't go back. Or if the relationship is very volatile, the guy will say, if you leave me, I will do X, Y, Z to your parents or to your mother or to your father. And then they're scared, so they don't want to leave that person. But I do think it is important that you talk to both of them. You let your child know, hey, I'm going to be there. Maybe not in a conversation every day, but maybe once a week or something like that, either via phone or via text, to let them know, hey, I'm here for you if you need me. And then as you further get along to know that person, then I think you can feel a little bit more free to express your opinion. But it's a fine line, I think.
I also think that goes back to like the conversations you have with your kid prior to them even getting into a relationship, or even prior to them liking, whatever they prefer to like. I'm not even going to get into that. Because essentially your kids are going to learn from you. Whatever you tell them, whatever you show them, whatever you mirror to them, they're going to pick up on it. Even if you think they're not looking, they looking and they watching you all times. So, and then there's situations where like, if you don't talk to your kid about, what a boyfriend should do, what a girlfriend should do, how you should be treated, what you shouldn't be doing with them, conversations around sex with them. If you're not doing those kinds of things, then they're going to, gravitate towards things that they shouldn't.
And I think in this case too, there's certain things, even though the show is called Single Fathers Today, I mean, at this point, my kids have a great relationship with their mother, and actually I'm at the point where I'm at peace with their mother, and we have good conversations. So by the other parent being involved, if there's certain things, again, being a male, my kids might not want to have conversations with me about sex and things that nature, so they want to have conversation with their mother, and that's fine. You got to be open to that. You want to have conversations about relationships in general, that's fine. They can get information from both sides if both parents are there. If there's a situation where the other parent isn't there and your kids have to come to you, then you have to be willing to have that conversation. I know there were times where I might have been stuck on something, but I knew that there were several women in my in the tribe, I guess. One of them was Michelle's best friend's mother. She helped me out a lot. She took in Michelle. Actually took all my daughters in as additional kids. Her and her husband took them in as extended family. And then I had some female friends that helped out as well to, if I was stuck on something and they said, hey, you want me to talk to them? They would talk to them. Yes. That old adage that it takes a village, so you have to be open to those conversations as well. If they don't feel comfortable talking to you, then they can have someone that they can talk to and express those comments or those thoughts or views with.
Mm-hmm. Just like how you hated shopping and they always took us shopping.
Okay, so what I used to do early on, I was a J.C. Penney's type guy, so I would take the kids to J.C. Penney's. Being a typical guy, if I'm going shopping, I know exactly what I want before I leave the house. I go get this, go get this, go get this. I'm in, out, done, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or whatever. I'm out. I'm going back home. Kids, they wanted to go, we're going to look at this store and look at that store. So,
you don't know nothing about that.
No. So,
J.C. Penney's.
Exactly. So, there was, Michelle's best friend, her mother would say, I'll take the girl shopping. Just, give me the credit card. And I'm like, here you go. And here's, what's the limit? Here's the limit for each one of them. And they would go out 4 or 5 hours later, come back with a whole bunch of stuff, problem solved, done. So those are some of the things that if I was stuck on something, I knew that there was people I could talk to have those conversations with, or get advice or information, so I could have those conversations with them.
That's true. Well, I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's not really a question, but you know how you talked about Michelle being close to you, mm-hmm. and always being around you. Would you say, okay, how can you touch on emotion-wise? Because sometimes she kind of like is emotionally unavailable at times, or like compared to certain girls, she's not emotional to certain things. And I get it. She told me, she's like, oh, I get that from my dad. I get that from him, and like I learned from him. So as a father, did you ever talk to her about that, as far as like, hey, this is what you should do, or how do you express your emotions, because it could like hinder your relationships or something like that? Do you like ever have those conversations with her, or break it down, like why sometimes you were acting like this because she picked up on it, and now it's like I gotta break the shell, but it's kind of hard. But now it's like, okay, I get it because she learned from you. So I'm like, do you guys have those conversations? Like, or did she ever come to you and like, hey, Dad, as a child, I felt like you didn't express your emotions this way, so it was kind of like affecting my relationship with my boyfriend. Like, have you ever had those conversations?
Wait, before you answer that, I had a conversation with Mom about that in the summer too, but she's essentially the same with the emotion thing. So I don't know if you want to add to that too, but
I think for me, I think what she might have picked up on is I think one of the mistakes that I made post divorce was with some of the relationships that I was involved in. I think early on I was looking for a relationship, and there was one that I was in, and I was head over heels for this person, and it was just difficult. Some of the things that I allowed to happen within the relationship really hardened me a lot, and it got to the point when the relationship had ended, I pretty much put a wall up around myself, and I said, okay, I will let people get, if I'm in a relationship, I'll let that person get to a certain point, but that was it. I wouldn't let them go any further. And I think that was due to me having myself opened up so much to where I was just hurt. My heart was just hurt. And I took more of an aggressive tone towards relationships. And I think that sabotaged a lot of relationships as I was focusing on raising my daughters and telling myself that, yes, I can care for this person, but they could only get so close. In hindsight, I think that was a mistake. I think what I should have done was look at a relationship and say, hey, this person is not like the previous person, and that one is not like the previous one before that. And that would allow me to reflect that with my daughters, so they could know that, hey, this person is not this other individual. And by them observing and watching what I was doing in a relationship, that kind of hardened them as well. And that's where her shell comes from, because she has seen where I might be with someone, or I might have been in a relationship with somebody, and okay, she's a nice person, but that person's wanting to go to the next level, but it was like a level which they could only get to, and they couldn't go any further. And that's where that part stemmed from. So that was one of the mistakes that I made, and I think that if I could change anything, I would change that. And now it's just the issue of trying to break that barrier down for them, because nobody wants to go through the pain of a relationship. I mean, being in a relationship is a wonderful thing, but having your heart hurt in a relationship is a very devastating thing. I know that as, from previous experience of, I've been on both sides of the coin where I've been hurt by somebody and I've hurt someone as well. And you just have to, as a single dad, you have to make sure that if your kids are young, you have to be willing to let that guard down, or if you're not ready to take that step yet, don't go down that path, but let your kids know, hey, you have to be able to open yourself up to that relationship, because it can be a very wonderful thing.
Would you say at that time, if you would have been more, well, I don't know, but if you would have been more connected with like God or spiritual, that probably could have helped you out in a way of expressing yourself?
Being connected in a spiritual sense, I was there. We were going to church. We was going to Renaissance Unity in the Metro Detroit area. I had the ministry staff was there for me. There was a lot of things for a while. I was just focused on that and not being involved in relationships. But when I got involved in a relationship, I should have made it more of bringing in the religion or bringing God into that relationship. And I think some of the mistakes that I made with some of the relationships was keeping that element off to the side. And I don't know why. I think there was just so much that was going on at that time. Dealing with the effects from the divorce, dealing with her family, some of the things that her family had went through also at that time, was a recession, just lost my job, was out of work for 7 months, and you're panicking, okay, how am I going to raise these kids? I have family telling me move back down south, and you're not wanting to do that, and you're wanting to go ahead and stand up on your own. And once you get yourself back up on your feet and you're still focusing on your kids and you having a relationship, but there's, like I said, it goes back to certain parts, like I said earlier, certain levels that you didn't want them to go. You let them get so far, but you don't want to let them go to the next phase or next level. And once they hit that wall, that was it. I wasn't letting them go any further. Going past that wall would have been me being fully open, relationship-wise, spiritual side, church side, all of those things. So, in hindsight, yeah, that was a big mistake. That's one of the things that I wish I could change.
Well, you just gave me an epiphany moment, because honestly, I've had, like, in past relationships where I've had, like, a feeling of, like you just said, I can't go any farther, but, like, I didn't understand, like, the real reason for it. Like, I just felt like I can't go any far, like you just said, but now I get it. I was watching you and I didn't even know it.
Yes. It's more of, like people will say, well, man, you really like this person? Yeah, I like them, but why don't you open yourself up all the way? They're out there on that ledge, on that branch. Why aren't you going out there with them? And it's like, for me, it was more of thinking about this one past relationship that just devastated me because I put myself out there and hated that feeling. So I was like, you know what? Nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go out there, not putting myself out there. And there was relationships that I had that were sabotaged because of that. It wasn't them that sabotaged it. It was me that sabotaged it because I didn't want to feel that pain again. I didn't want to go through that pain. I didn't want to go through all those emotional things. So I, again, being in a relationship can be a wonderful thing. It can be, like they say, joy and pain. Sometimes it can be great, sometimes it can be painful, but it's part of the experience. And if you don't open yourself up, you're protected. Your feelings are protected, but you're missing out on so much. And there's a lot that I missed out on because of that.
So knowing, that you lacked in certain areas back in the past, do you try to fix that now with your daughters?
I try to fix it now. I think what I normally take in the relationship with them is early on, I would always tell them that until, prior to turning 18, I'd say up until the point when they turn 18, I'm their dad. I'm the one that goes out telling them, you will do this, you will do that, thump them on the head, go this way, go that way. Once they've gotten past that stage and they're considered an adult legally, I switch from being their dad to being their father. And being their father is, I will give them advice. Instead of saying do this or do that, I would come back and say, if I were you, I would do this. Or I would look at doing it, or I look at, how about looking at this problem this way, or looking at this problem that way. If they want specific answers, I would give it to them. But I do know, and I have found out from one of my daughters, is that if I would try to give them advice or tell them what to do, or not tell them what to do, but say, hey, do this or do that, it would just be a big pushback. So I've learned that I try to take a hands-off approach. You kind of kind of like being that tugboat where you just want to kind of nudge them in a certain direction and have them go in a certain direction. I try to keep my personal demons, I guess you want to call it, relationship demons out of it, because I still, believe me, I still have my own I have my own problems that I got to work out. And I try to what I try to do when I communicate with them is take the positive things that I've learned in my years and try to guide them down that path, and not bring in my faults or failings. I mean, they're all out there for them to see, because again, even if they're not watching you, even if you don't think they're watching you, they're watching you. So I try to, when I do have those conversations, to bring the positive aspect in it. If there's one thing I could change with them, is probably being more involved in their daily communications, just to see how they're doing. But sometimes it can be kind of difficult in figuring out which is the happy medium between the two, between saying something and not saying something, because they got to be able to stand on their own.
That's true. One more thing, as a father, you guys are kind of judgmental of the boyfriends that your daughters bring in. So,
oh hell yeah, we all
question,
are. If you have kids, when you have kids, you're gonna be the same exact way.
What was your first initial thought before you met me and after?
Before I knew, I knew that, because the way I found out, she didn't tell me, her sisters told me.
They told you because we wasn't nothing yet. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
But continue.
But I found out through them, and
hold on, because I don't tell you nothing until I know it's serious. That's why all them other boys that you met, obviously, first of all, they still ain't here. Second, you didn't meet them until way after the fact. And third, when you did, this is going back to something else. What was it? Oh, back to when you were saying, like the pushback of like telling your kid if you like the boyfriend or not. I could tell in the first 30 seconds if his opinion, essentially, when he met them. So, and obviously those relationships didn't last. So like in the back of my head, I knew, because realistically, why you didn't meet or know about him off rip, because I care more about what you think of the guy than honestly anybody else do in the family. So like, because kind of like even me and Mo were talking about it earlier. That's gonna be a whole nother conversation for another day, but yeah, go ahead.
So
I'm not even gonna get into it.
So my first thought was, I kind of took knowing how close knit all three of them are. I figured, and I told them early on, they're a mini gang. They always look out for each other, because I can't be there with them all the time. So I kind of listened to what they said, and I took a stand back approach. I really didn't say too much, and I just kind of listened and observed. First time I met you, the first thing I said, thank God he's not sagging. That is my biggest. That is my biggest pet peeve.
My dad would beat my ass if I.
That is my biggest pet peeve. That right there. And I'm sure there's some dads out there clapping. If you would have came in the first time sagging, yo, what's up, blah, 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 blah. And that's an instant, no, not, just no. So I said, okay, he knows how to wear pants. Okay. Check. I'm one of those guys that's just like, no, that's not how you present yourself, and I think my daughters look at that and say, I know that that's not acceptable. You have to be properly presentable to them. I'm from that old school mindset. I don't have tats. I came in twice in my life of having tats, and
Me neither.
And I have, but I also know too that my generation is different than your guys' generation. So yeah, he has his tats, but also he can pull his pants up. Okay, we're good. So, and also it's how you carry yourself, your presence. That means a lot. And then most importantly, I observe and watch how you treat her. So all those other things, it all factors in together of how you present yourself around her, how you present yourself around me, how you present yourself around other people in society. Mm-hmm. And that is something that I always look at. And if you carry yourself a certain way, that in a positive way, and you're making a positive influence, and you know how to treat somebody with respect, that's it for me. So and as I've gotten to know you more and more, and knowing that you guys have gone on trips and traveled, and I know that, hey, you're taking care of her, and she's had a lot of positive things to say. She seems happy. That's important to me. So, so I'm fine with it. You're as a father, you're always observing, you're always watching, and then as time goes on, you kind of relax yourself up a little bit more, and you just continue forward. So, and the fact that you can come and talk to me, and you feel comfortable in coming talking to me, and she feels comfortable, and that's that ebb and flow. That definitely carries a lot, because you have some guys that just don't want to talk to the dad, and that says a lot too.
I feel like it's just based off the person's confidence, I could say. Because for me, growing up, my dad always made me go out there and just do it. Mm-hmm. And you build your own confidence. So,
and see, that also comes up with, and here's one thing that you two haven't touched on yet is, yes, she's my daughter, but also looking at your parents and how your parents raised you, be it if your mother and father are together or if it's just a single parent. You got to see how, because by looking at you, I can see and how you carry yourself, that is a window into how your parents, their views and their philosophy is on how they raise their son. And if your dad, and from what I can tell, your parents raised you in a way that hard work ethic, treating people with respect, and that is a credit to them, and saying that, hey, this is how, and it goes back to further back with them, how their parents raised them, or the seeds that was planted. Because again, my mother's a single parent, father wasn't there, but my mother planted those seeds, and to say, hey, this is what you need to do to go forward in life, succeed in life, and if you have kids, here's what you need to do. And your parents did the same thing. So that's a credit to them, and you've taken those seeds and those lessons that they've given you, and you take that further.
Yeah, that, and I had 15 other siblings, so.
My mother had 15 kids too. I mean, she didn't have 15 kids. She was one of 15 kids. Let me rephrase that. So, well past our normal show. Our normal shows are like 20, 30 minutes. We're right about 54, 55 minutes. So, hopefully I didn't prune on too long, but they did ask me questions, and it's the first time getting back to it. So, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I think that as we go forward, we'll be doing a lot more shows and getting more involved into it again. I know that Mo's looking at trying to do his own podcast as well. So as we go forward and he gets that set up, definitely be doing some plugs for him, and again, getting everything set up or getting everything going again, getting the show going and starting out with a new show. So as we come to wrap this up, is there anything else you guys have?
Fire up chips.
I'm sure we will be doing a part 2. I guarantee you. So as we come to wrap this up, again, this is Mark Hill with Michelle.
Hi, thanks for watching. Well, not watching.